All right, hello. I think we're live right now. Just myself. I feel. Thank you, Thomas, for helping me out. Yate Sheya Richard DeCrane and Che. Kitachini Bashichin Gagi Den and Schle. Ashin the She Gagi Den Dene, the Shanala Kutea, the Ne and Schle. Ro Leia Teya Nasha. Kutea the Ne and Schle. Hello, everybody in Facebook land. Today we're gonna continue on with our discussion on our powwow talk, powwow protocol, and powwows in general. Today we're gonna touch on the fancy war dancers, also known as the fancy men dancers, fancy fancy northern dancers, fancy southern dancers. But yeah, so that the term fancy war dance comes from, I believe, the South Oklahoma area. And well, let's rewind a little bit. I think last week we ended our talk when we were talking about the grass dancers, and what I think we talked about their origin story, where it comes from, and a few stories, personal stories that I've witnessed and I've seen along the powwow trail. I think this week we're gonna kind of stick with that kind of format. It was pretty good, just doing the origin stories and doing a little bit of reminiscing about powwows and dance societies and where it all fits in. I think we're okay. Let me just check that we are live and the audio is good. All right, I think we're good. But are we good, Thomas? I don't have the three fingers above my head. Maybe I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, fancy war dance. Where does it come from? Where did it begin? Like I said before, a little bit disclaimer. I'm not the expert on where fancy war dance came from or comes from. I heard a lot of different stories on the origin of where it comes from. So this is just a discussion, more talking about all the different stories from different folks, different tribes. My tribe is the Apsalaga or Crow, and also the Dene or Navajo, which originally, we didn't have those dances or those tribes. It was taught to us, we adopted that way and we learned it. And so have many other tribes. However, those tribes got a hold of that dance, or that particular dance society is unique to each tribe. I've heard many different stories all over Indian country. Traveling around to different powwows and seeing and listening to some of the elders of different areas from different tribes, and listening to their story, what they thought or where it came from. And so I want to try to relate some of that. So and the stories, all these stories that I talk about is for our young people, our dancers that are a part of dancing dancing troops, or dance classes. We have dance classes all over Indian country. Here in San Diego we have Soaring Eagles. We have quite a few dance troops actually, and dancing classes going on. Soaring Eagles will be right after this, 5:30 to 7, I believe. Um, and it's via Zoom. And let's see who else around here. We have the Star Dance Troupe or dance class too, that was happening before the pandemic, but I think we kind of um, haven't been able to participate and go down to downtown San Diego and do that dance class. But I think there's a couple other fancy mocks. Also, Verona has one, a little dance troupe, and all the way even up into LA. There's another couple of other dance troupes. I can't think of their name right now. Um, so yeah, so all of us, across Indian country, like you've heard from my past stories, that somehow, some way, this dance came to us as Indian people in the big cities, and in the big cities, we missed our culture. We wanted to go. practice our old ways, our original ways that we've learned how to come together as a group. Dancing and music, is really something that brings a lot of people together. Just hearing the songs and dances and coming to big community events like powwows or dance class, it is really huge for Indian communities wherever you're from. If you're Indian community in big cities like we are, or if you're on the reservation, you know. So there's many stories of how the fancy war dance came. From what I've heard, also I've heard many times here. There's a few dancers that actually come from the Ponca tribe, and I have a good friend that has a whole display. The origin stories of the Ponca and how they developed the fancy war dance. I have a friend that has a little booth. Sometime he'll set up and he'll see all the pictures, and there's um, little histories and little bio that he puts out, and it's really interesting to if you ever get a chance to check that out. Um, but other than that, across the Indian countries, I always heard some people say that the fancy war dance came from when the Wild West Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. I guess what had happened is a lot of Indians were trying to find a job, and that was one of the jobs that they could find that was fairly decent paying, but at the same time they were, being used and exploited. I think the Wild West show added stuff to the powwow, the contemporary powwow, but also took stuff away. Originally, like if you heard my story before, originally, there was traditional dancers that participated, and they wanted you wanted to be more fancy, more flashing, and so somehow it evolved into the men's fancy war dance. And they put that terminology, war dance, and that's a mistranslation. Just to make it more fancy, just to make it more exciting. I feel like I'm kind of crooked here, but I think my camera just went a little sideways. But yeah, I think my house is sideways. I'm just looking at the camera. But yeah, getting back to fancy war dance, and that's where I've heard that dance comes from. But that's just one story. That's just like I said, the original people that I've originally heard, was the Ponca people, and the Ponca stories and how they got that dance. But I've also heard other stories up north, kind of in the Washington area, kind of in the and then back into the Great Plains area. There's other stories that that maybe it came from what now in contemporary times what we call the chicken dance or chicken dance dancers, or also there's also a dance called the round bustle dance, and they use a lot of chicken dance feathers and other feather, but they would have round bustles here, and they would have a round bustle in the back, and there would be three bustles, and they also have a round bustle around the bottom of their leg there. They'll point out like that. I wish I had pictures. I wish I was able to show pictures and show you that. But they would have some right below the knees. They would have a round bustle that would face out, and then one on the shoulders, or two on the shoulders, and then one in the back. And that's kind of I've heard that story too. That it came from that prairie chicken dance, and it kind of evolved from that for the northern people, but also other stories, that other tribes that came up to the north in the Great Plains area, in South Dakota, North Dakota area. I know Ponca Brady, one of the great legends that still here, still alive. His family, he was the world champion. I've heard many stories of how they got it and how it evolved, and I've also heard other stories about um, how originally the old style there was only just one bustle, or one bustle, which is the feathers in the back, and then they would have like just a breastplate and a real simple headband, real simple. But nowadays, contemporary times, they added a lot of things. They added bells. Well, bells are part of it, and they also had like a big, they call shags, or big Angoria leg band type things that came almost all the way up to the knee area, and and um, and they would only have one bustle. Some people don't like it when they say, "Oh, that's how originally it was, just one bustle in the back," and then how it evolved into two bustles in the back. And some people even say, that they saw other tribes that did that, like even the Lakota people, they would have a bustle in the back, a small little bustle back here, and that, that has its own origin stories. That was part of coop counting, and having and doing something, a great deed, you would earn that right to wear that one bustle on your neck bustle. I've heard that story. So so there's many different inspirations, many different places, different that I've heard that dance comes from, the origin story. So it kind of depends on where you come from, where you are. I think in general, in contemporary times, I know the Southern style of fancy war dance. They just dance. They don't do too many things too fancy. They do fancy moves. I think that's very that's also called one of the more athletic dances that you can do, where involves all the movement. You got to keep in time with the beat, with the dance of the song, and you're twirling these things, kind of like tassels, and you're dancing, and you're just keeping it real simple, but at the same time keep kind of flashy, not too much. But then if you go north, what they call the northern fancy dance, they get really fancy, and they start doing push-ups on the ground, start doing all kind of contemporary type moves. I've seen some crazy stuff, where they even do like a basketball move where they're trying to shoot the hoop and do some fake moves, or all kind of crazy stuff, and gets a little out of control sometimes. Doing sideways jumping jacks or cartwheels. I've even seen dancers do, whole front flips or back flips in that whole outfit. And if you ever see the fancy dancers, they have a huge bustle nowadays, real, huge, pretty much fits about like right here all the way to the back. And there's fringes hanging off and fringes down the bottom. And there's usually two types, some with fully, almost a beaded eagle, actually fully with eagle feathers on it, and that's, some people consider that traditional, or the older style with the eagle feathers on it. And so and then contemporary times they use a lot of turkey feathers, and also what they call hackles. Hackles come from different birds, usually chickens or roosters, and they would decorate that bustle and in that back and make it really fancy and flashy. In contemporary, in older times, that with the eagle feathers, they would just put horsehair, and that was it. That was as fancy as they got. But later on in contemporary times, we started using like tassels, or like the ribbon or real thin plastic that they would hang and really make it that really flashy. Because they were trying to get the attention of judges. I think I've talked about this before, how money got involved, and money was became part of the powwow. And I'm gonna try to adjust this quick, 'cause it's bothering me. I feel like I'm on the sideways house. Okay, that's better. Sorry, guys. But yeah, so fancy war dance, many different stories and origins of where it comes from. You know, um, so if you ever want to dance that, I would try to get someone from like the Ponca tribe, or someone from Oklahoma that kind of has a better understanding of where it comes from. And today, this is just a discussion to talk about it, to get it out there. Let people know where kind of the origin story of where it comes from. It's the most contemporary dances that we do as in Indian country. It was developed, I believe, in like the 70s. I know I have a few relatives up north that used to be a part of that. If you've ever seen this really huge guy, about 6'5", about this big, and he's fancy dancing. And even though I know some people talk about, hey, that's the most, you have to be really in shape and fit. And I've seen some big guys, still dancing that and pretty much tearing it up, with the young skinny guys. I know I have a few relatives. I can think of one good relative, one uncle I call him also. But at the same time, it's kind of fun to see the dancing in itself. If you ever get a chance to witness that, I wish I was able to share a little bit of video, but you can look that up on your own time. Check out YouTube and look up fancy dancers, men fancy dancers, and you'll see it's really high energy, high. It's sometimes people get really crazy with it. Sometimes I remember a few times. I think some of the gooder times. One of the highlights that I like to always to check out is every once in a while some tribes will do a spotlight, where they actually have a spotlight or do a spotlight dance. And I think quite a few different places, I've had seen that spotlight dance where they would really feature that fancy war dance. And at night and towards the evening, they would turn on all the powwow lights in the outside, and they would just leave the big spotlight with two spotlights coming down, and they would shine on the dancer, and they would pick out a song. I think last fancy dance spotlight I went to was over at Red Eagle Powwow over in Phoenix. It's a very interesting place. It's on a reservation there, and at that powwow they have these big old spotlights up in what are those scaffolding. It's in a really big baseball field that they have on the reservation, and they have these scaffolds with these lights coming down. And all the lights go off, and everybody, that's when if you're in your booth or your dancing bear booth, you gotta watch all your stuff in case someone comes and snatches it. But that's when all the lights go off. All the craziness comes on, and the spotlight comes on, the music, and some of those songs that they play are really really fast. And they'll just go and then they just like do all this, and they'll get all crazy and they'll stop. And some of them are trick songs, and some of them, and usually what usually happens is they get to pick a song or two songs from one of their favorite drums. And this is probably last year when I got to go and witness that and see that. And watch them dance, and sometimes they'll pick a really fast song or song that they know, which is kind of a trick song. And it stops, it goes real fast, and it stops. And it stops. And then someone would pick, like a crow hop. It just goes, do, 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 and they do the best move. Then somehow it just turns into the real fast. And then other dancers would also pick other songs that would be like a sneak up almost, where it would go, and then just like they kind of stomp their feet and do their shake around and do those type of dances. And they would shake and then move. And then the whole idea of it when it becomes in competition, is they have to know the song exactly when the beats have to stop, or you have to stop right on time when the music stops or the drum beat stops. That's when you got to stop. Or if it stops intermittently in between the songs, you got to be like, "Whoa!" And then they do their secret move, and they go, "Oh!" It's pretty fun dance. It really gets the crowd involved, and people start screaming, yelling for their famous or their favorite fancy war dancer. Ah! But yeah, it's a good time. We get a chance to see the spotlight. When they have the spotlight contest dance, it's really interesting, really unique. And it brings a lot of energy when we come to that powwow, to the people, to the crowd, and people love it. I know a lot of people that really just go to the powwow just to see that dance, because it's really showy and really dance. Like I said, even the northern guys get probably a little carried away, or a lot of carried away. They start doing push-ups, and in between their sets, they just kind of do push-ups, kind of show off, and it's kind of funny. Another real funny story was right down the road, not too far from here, over at Indio Powwow or Fantasy Springs. One year, these little kids are really funny when you. Sometimes I get a chance to judge up in front and be like a judge for the dances, and usually sometimes because you don't have any kids that are in that category, so they ask judges usually ask me to come and be a judge, and this one time last year I was judging, and all these little kids come running. They're about probably 7 to 12, kind of like in the early teenagers, and they're yelling at me, one more, and that's the funniest thing when they start screaming at you, or even you're standing up front and the judges, they're like, one more. So all these little kids are trying to act, because sometimes the adults get kind of crazy like that. I remember some of the adults sometimes would do like a throw up sound, because they would, I don't know, they just be funny like that while they're trying to get judged, and they do all kind of crazy stuff. It's pretty funny to see if you ever get a chance to witness and see and pay attention to when they line up, because usually what happens is the arena director will line them up like this, and then they're screaming for one more, and they're like, they're acting like that song was nothing, even though they danced like 3 push-ups or 3 songs straight. And they came up, and they all come running to try to beat one another, and they all get in line, and they kind of bump each other sometimes. It's kind of funny. And you see all the when you're judging the fancy dance or fancy war dance. And, like I said, even between the northern and southern, and sometimes they'll combine them. Sometimes they'll put them in separate categories where it's northern against northern, and southern against southern. And the songs change up. Usually they'll have a northern song versus having a southern song. Sometimes some usually even the drums compete against each other. If they hear the other drum singing real fast. Usually the southern starts out real fast and just tears it up for like almost 3 minutes straight at that pretty much that constant beat, and then it would stop. And then they would switch over to the northern. Then the northern, like, oh, we gotta do better than that. And so they try to go faster. And then, but I think the southern has it every time because they like go. I don't know, pretty. I keep doing that crazy, crazy super. What do they call it? Hyper speed? No, no, they go not warp speed. What's that they say, Thomas? They go ludicrous speed. It's just really funny when they start singing. And these guys are just like, pretty soon they just kind of start shaking. Don't even do any fancy moves no more. It's just like shaking. When the southern people, when the southern drum takes off and starts singing that really super, super, super fast song, goes ludicrous speed. And it's just, real funny to watch and see. And I'm trying to watch. And sometimes it gets out of control. If there's so many dancers in that dance arena, and they're like I said, their bustles are huge, and when there's over like 30 in a smaller dance arena, they kind of it feels like the dance arena has shrunk. But there's so many dancers, and there's all this movement, and if you're a judge, you're just like, oh my god, what the heck's going on? Your eyes are going like 3,000 miles because you're trying to look at every um, dance category and try to see who's going to stop on time or who misstep or who's not really going, just trying to hide in the middle, going real slow, and the other dancers on the outside are going real fast, trying to stay with the beat, and got all kind of different levels of dancers. It's kind of fun to watch and kind of see, like, oh, he got in shape this powwow. Last year he wasn't that in shape. And it's pretty funny. A lot of those people that I know, personally are good friends. I get to talk to a lot of these people, and sometimes get to sing with them and get to hang out with them, before and after the powwow, whatever. And it's all in the competition in itself is all in good spirits. We always shake hands at the end. That's one of the things that I always push as arena director. Sometimes when I always have to teach the kids how to be not a poor sport, but have sportsmanship, where they will shake the other dancer's hand or give that high five. Excuse me, or low five. I know there's some short fancy dancers too. You can go like that, and they'll be like down here, trying to kind of high five you. But anyway, I won't say any names. You know who you are, and you know who those people are. Hey, just kidding. Um, Tease some of my brothers. But yeah. So fancy war dance, fancy northern style dancing. Um, it's very unique to each tribe, and at the same time, where it comes from, who made it popular, um, is up for whoever tribes tells it. I know up in um, MHA territory, they claim they invented the northern dance or northern fancy traditional dances, which is a lot of fun. And see, oh, I forgot. I should be scrolling. There you go. D shows gun. Thanks for sharing. Yep, no problem. Veronica Shields Estrada says hello. Oh, I'm trying to move this thing, but it's not moving. I guess that's the only. I know last time I was trying to do the touchscreen. My screen's not even touchscreen on this laptop. Now this thing will move up. So hopefully nobody else is. I haven't seen any more comments. No, I think it's three fingers, two fingers on this Apple laptop. It's kind of funny. Okay, maybe there's only two comments. Because last time there was a bunch of comments and I didn't do the little two finger scroll up thing, and I didn't see. I don't mean to be rude. For people that leave comments. Like I said, this is a discussion. Let me know where if you heard the story or origin story of where it comes from, how it came to your tribe, or how it came to the city or to the little little places you are. A little dance troupe. I know a few of our dance troupe. We had a few fancy dancers. That kind of showed us back in the day that came to our dance class and talked about it and shared their story where it came from, and some kids were able to pick that up. That's really important to for the kids, young people and the people that just want to dance, to learn the origin stories where our dances come from. Whether it's very contemporary like the fancy war dance, which is very fairly new. And you'll see the order. I'm trying to go in the order of how people come into the dance circle. If anybody was wondering, so that usually that at the end of the men's category, would usually be the fancy war dancers. And I do say men's and women's, but I don't mean to distinguish between genders. I don't really don't. I'm conforming, non-genderist, non-biased. Like myself and Indian people, we're the same way. And I know a lot of two spirits also dance this dance, and all of our both styles of dance, both men and women. We have two spirits, and those type of people are not frowned upon or looked in shame. We really celebrate them. We really take care of them. That's us as Indian people. We've always been far thinking. We've always been very welcoming, and we've never been gender bias as the Western world is. We've always been accepting of our many generations. You might have heard my talk before. As many stars in the skies, that's how many generation or many genders that there are in the universe. The only ones that can bring life is our women. And you need the men. Nowadays you don't even need the men. But anyway, let's I digress, get away from that. So fancy war dancers, I think recently I kind of want to say that a little bit, but at the same time, I think last year around January I got to go up to or out to. I was invited to this powwow in Oklahoma. It's kind of on the border, Oklahoma, Texas, up to the Cheyenne and Arapaho. What was it, governor's powwow, and it was pretty good. They had a contest for. They had women that they had a contest for the women to dance in fancy dance outfits. Originally, women, that's what they used to wear when this dance first started developing. The women wanted to be part of it, and they would wear that bustle into and dance against the men in competition. A lot of times those the women were so good they would beat the men, and the men didn't want to be part of that, so they wouldn't participate or be part of that. I heard stories like that. And now women have their own dance categories, and I hope that this takes off. It's been are bringing it back. I was witness. I was over there at that powwow. It's in this really big. I guess in this college. Can't remember the college's name, but they had it in this college, and then all these the women were all dressed up, and they had borrowed outfits. Some of them had their own outfits. I didn't know that they had their own outfits. They had them put together, and they came out and they danced, and man, it was really exciting too just to watch them. And they did more moves than the guys. Shamed out the guys pretty much. I think there's video out there if you ever check that out. It's the Arapaho and Cheyenne, Southern Cheyenne contest, and it was the women category, and it was really cool to see, really cool to witness and be a part of. I remember some of those girls, they look really super mean, and they even did like the guys where they came up and lined up and started yelling, "One more, give me one more." They danced around, they got all crazy, and, I think I even heard them do that throw up thing that they do. I don't know, it's just something across Indian country. If you've ever been to some of those and witnessed those dances, there's someone always go, because when you exercise so hard and so fast, you feel like throwing up. Anyway, someone just does that almost every time, guaranteed. Someone will do that just to make people laugh, and it's just kind of funny. And that's something I remember about the men's fancy dance, northern and southern. It was funny when the women did it too, and it was just a pretty good time. I was able. That's probably one of the last powwows that I got to go to. I was really happy. I was invited out actually to sell my cedar boxes, and I was really excited and happy about that. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna go. And it was from San Diego. I think it took me almost 14 hours to drive straight. I just went I-40, went up north I-15, and went across and went to I-10, cut across to I-40, and then went straight across and set up my booth. It was really nice. Really nice to. I'd never been there before, and I don't think they had that power this year. It was that the governor's powwow, and I think one of the tribes they were the governor, and it was pretty interesting. I think who was the MC? It was um, good friend Ruben Littlehead was the main MC, and they also had a local MC there too. And they had a lot of southern dances, a lot of southern dances, a lot of southern drums. I think they had one. I think the boys were there. As far as northern drum, there was only like maybe five northern drums and maybe like 20 southern drums. It was really cool. It's usually like around here we're kind of balanced a little bit. If you go up north, it's all northern drums, very little southern drums. And if you know the difference between the drumming and singing, it's really really unique and different. Southern is usually high, um, more bass, um, versus like the northern style of singing is higher pitch type singing. But there, it was really interesting to see how they, a lot of times you go to Oklahoma, it's different than coming to California versus like contests. There, they do have contests, but they're set up a little differently. Um, Somewhat the same, but at the same time still different. I know, it's interesting. They have contest dancing, but at the same time they don't advertise it. You just show up and they'll have a dance special, and then everybody that wants to dance in that dance special gets to do it at that time whenever they have it. They just kind of announce it at any random times. It seems like to me. But yeah, if you ever get a chance to check that out, check out the men's fancy war dance. It's really interesting, really fun. Many stories that I can think of. Um, and like I said, I missed powwow dancing in general. Even chicken dance, I miss chicken dance. Chicken dancing, our songs are pretty fast and pretty quick, and we got fancy moves too. But at the same time, we're not as showy, not as flashy as the fancy dancers. But at the same time, I've been put in that category where I have to dance against the fancy dancers versus the chicken dancers, and we can keep up. We can keep up with that beat because we like that fast type of dance. And a lot of times, I remember a couple of times, I had a dance off with a fancy dancer versus myself, and I think I got beat because I didn't know the southern dance style song. I think I was still young, but at the same time, I could keep up, but I didn't know that song, so I got bucked off or stopped too early, or didn't stop at all. I just kept going. But anyway, that's happened to a lot of people. Let's see. You can also check out, quite a few YouTubers and people, especially in Oklahoma, that have done live broadcasts and shows. I can't think of there's a station in Oklahoma that they did a couple things like we're doing. You were talking about culture, talking about how to actually make bustles and make. I can't think of the name right now, but anyway, there's a show if you ever get a chance to look that up in Oklahoma. They have a whole thing. I've seen it's a series. You can probably find it online. I think one of my friends, a Marine buddy, did a talk about fancy dancing, the origin stories and where it came from, and so if you want more information, I'd say look there. That's a really good source to check out. I'm trying to scroll up, but I don't know what's the deal. Sometimes this computer acts up and won't let me scroll on. So if anybody's leaving comments, I can't scroll down in the comment section. It keeps making me scroll up over here. Uh-oh, about to cancel. About to end my live. But yeah, so hopefully you guys oh, I just was reading something. But I know last week kind of had some trouble because my phone was acting him up. My little brother was calling, and then they wanted to go there, and then anyway. But this week we have a pretty good picture. Hopefully, we'll try to. I think there's a rule out there where the camera's supposed to be 3 inches, 4 inches below your head from the top of the ceiling. But I think I'm showing too much ceiling today. Hey, but anyway, hopefully we'll get better at this. and I think it's a lot clearer than normal. Any updates as far as our dances? I think we've got our Soaring Eagles dance class tonight, which is going to be a lot of fun. It's going live around 6. I know up in San Francisco, San Fran, up in the Bay Area, not San Francisco exactly, but in the Bay Area, I know the community up there. They have their dance class today, or Thursdays, Thursday evening around 6. The Friendship House, that's what it's called. So if you look up the Friendship House in Oklahoma, in Oakland, California, Friendship House. They host a little dance class, powwow drum, where the kids can dance to, just like we do here in our community. Normally we'd have a live drum. My good friend Terry would bring the drum. And they would sing for the kids, and they would dance, and they'll get to have dance practice, which is a lot of fun. So, but right now we're doing it virtually. We're trying to just play music um, off our phones and off the YouTube, and so the kids to dance. And it's been a lot of fun. I think our new dance instructor Sonia Flores is doing a really good job. She's teaching us. Actually, uh, uh, it's I guess how do you even call it? I guess it's she's teaching us dance to kind of like do like a, I want to say together dance for some reason, but she's to kind of do like a, we're all doing the same dance move, or basically, if you ever seen some of the competition dancing, you'll see sometimes they'll have team dancing, where the team of dancers will come together and they'll dance together, and they'll try to do the same moves. This foot kicks that way, this other foot kicks that way, like my animation, and then they would turn this way, or someone would turn this way, and they would just team dance basically. I think for us back home in the Crow Country, we've always done that. Was when we do intertribal, it's kind of unique to us that we dance together. The men dance all together in intertribal dancing, and it looks like we're doing a team dance and a line dance of all the traditional dancers of Crow style, and they would do the line dance all together, and they would turn this way all together, and they would turn this way, and that's just the style that we've always done. The Crow dance style up in Crow Country. We do that line dance kind of dance, and during intertribals, that's what we do. While other tribes did their individual dancing. But yeah, so I'm excited for that dance class tonight, and we got other news. I'm part of a couple of planning committees. We're planning a powwow for San Diego State and UCSD. I think the kids voted. We had one of the dance categories was fancy dances or men's grass dance, and the kids voted to have the men's grass dance. So we're having a special. I think I put out a flyer for the intercollegiate coming together of two universities, San Diego State and a University of um, California, UCSD, or San Diego, have come together, and we're doing a collaboration. The students of NASA and ASA, and also the grad students, coming together, and also the two departments, IRC and I'm going to mess these acronyms up totally, but SDSU has its own native department, and so does um, International Resource Center is what it's at the UCSD, and it came together collaborating. So we're planning a big virtual powwow, which say we're putting together videos. So it's gonna be a good time, and we're also going to be doing contest dancing in the grass dance and jingle dance category, and I've heard a few other things, but I won't say right now because we're still in the works, still planning. Virtual dance, planning a powwow virtually is a lot of hard work. A little different than planning a powwow. Hey, thank you, Karen. UCSD Intertribal Resource Center. Totally messed that up earlier. Thanks for the help, Karen. Appreciate it. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. So we're gonna have competition dancing in those two dance categories, also in tiny tots. I think we're gonna do kind of boys and girls kind of put it together. Tiny tots have a dance competition, so I'm looking forward to for a lot of kids locally to participate, and other kids since it's virtual, it's going to be like all over the nation, all over the country. And oh, the one at, yeah, see, I was right. I said NRC, what it stands for, Native Resource Center at San Diego State University. And UCSD is Intertribal Resource Center. Enunciate, the enunciated, so I can say it clearer. But yeah, they came together and helped develop, and I'm just helping out, helping the kids, helping the departments, put together this powwow. So hopefully, we're gonna do a couple of tributes, to our veterans, to our local community elders. Um, what else? Other details. We're gonna have a couple of things. That's going to be exciting for for us in here in this community, and hopefully we guys get to see the end product. It's going to be, it kind of reminds you of, it's going to be about 4 hours of via Zoom, via live broadcasts. I think we're going to go live a couple of different platforms to see what works, see what doesn't work, and hopefully you guys get to tune in. So it's going to be a good time. Get your popcorn ready. I think that's going to be broadcast May 1st. Is normally, usually I think UCSD and SCSU has their powwows around that time, month off or month before, but around that same time. It's a good collaboration. I know right now we're still in lockdown, and we're being safe at home. We're washing our hands, wearing a mask. And other news, if you haven't seen on the TV or in Facebook or on the news, Deb Holland is the new Madame Secretary, the new Secretary of State, which is pretty awesome. Um, so we have our voices in Indian countries will be heard, and that's just some exciting news from Indian country. Yeah. Try to bring you the best news anytime, all the time. Okay. But anyway, I guess Fancy War Dance, I really appreciate the people. Hopefully, if people watch this later on, they can put some information, other information. Like I said, this is a discussion. I don't claim to be the know-it-all. There's other culture holders, historians. Some people call them. And I'm not the only one. I know other people that have maybe know more or do know more than me. And I'm still learning, as much as I know or much as I think I know. I still learn. I'm still learning. I'm still, um, and so everybody else is probably the same way. Just do the best that we can together and learn from one another, with our stories through the comments. I really appreciate the people that comment and say hello and kind of tune in. Of course, my wife for helping me out, and my son, who's always the moderator, keeping it really PG and keeping me right on time and getting me set up with my video and everything. I really appreciate him. So yeah, so next week we're gonna switch to the female dance categories. Like I said, I don't, not being biased or anything like that. It's just what. Um, yeah, so I think gonna start off with the traditional, northern traditional in the women's category. Um, and I'm just gonna be real basic. There's quite a few different, just like the men's traditional. There's quite a few different styles of men's traditional dances. Ranging all over the country, depending on what tribe you're from and where you come from, and including my own. Even my women's. I'll probably talk about the women's crow style. I know a little bit more about that, and kind of a little bit about the southern and other dance, women's dance stuff, traditional type of style. But there's so many, I probably can't even name off, or I don't even want to try to even know or even say that I'm an expert in any of those. I'm just trying to do a discussion and talk about it. And so tune in then, and if you can share some information, that's awesome. That's great. I really appreciate that. And so do the people that that will read the comments and tune in. Like I said, we're also on the YouTube live. I think you guys just saw, um, an hour before me. We had cooking with Carolina. I didn't even say that right. Um, but now, she's doing a fully recorded video editing and everything. It's going to be pretty cool. She's live on YouTube. If you're missing your Carolina fix, hey, for the week and learning a new recipe or learning how to perfect an old recipe, tune into her. We got a couple of things going on at the youth center. Uh, if I had my phone, well, I can't really get to my phone right now. I have a list of things that's going on tomorrow for the youth. What's happening tomorrow, Thomas? Give me that. Can I have that? I'll share this real quick, and this will be the end of my talk. But yeah, I think I got this little schedule of the month for March. Today is the 15th. Oh no, today's 16th. Cooking Matters with Carolina. Soaring Eagles tonight. Tomorrow is Fitness with Ethan. It's a lot of fun. Ethan is the health I won't say health professional, health coordinator. He does this fitness, light stretching. It says light stretching, or some people say yoga, but it's a good workout. But it's a good thing to check out. Or fitness with Ethan at 3:30 and 4:30. And then later on in the evening is the Friday night live Zoom. Anyway, there's a special event happening. Then the VRR Youth Center talking circle for the youth is going to be happening on Thursday also from 4 to 5. And then on Friday, of course, we have Let's Get Crafty via Zoom. Miss Carolina will be hosting that along with a few other people. And so it's going to be a good time. Yeah, so if you like any of this stuff or want more information, check out the American Indian Health Center. You can check out the community event page at I'll read it real quick: sdaihc.org community or /community/youth center family website, and check that out. And you can request more information and more things that we do. It's a lot of good stuff for the kids and youth. A lot of good programming that you can do with the kids, and hopefully they'll get zoomed out and can do that. So you guys have a good day, have a good night, good evening, whatever time of the day it is for you. Tune in next week and then get into the women's dance categories, starting with traditional styles. So you guys have a good evening. Ho.